Okay, we are back, and today we're going to be building subnets, and we're going to modularize them. So last time we created a static route, we tested our integration. We know that this is connected to this FortiGate firewall. I'm using a 100E, but I think any FortiOS would work. Double check the documentation just to make sure, but I am pretty confident that this works just about anyway. So first thing we're going to do, new folder, not in there, new folder, call it modules, and inside modules, we're going to create another folder called subnets. Inside subnets, we're going to do a new file, init.tf, that tells Terraform anything in this folder can be treated as Terraform code. And this one, we're going to call subnets.tf, and we're going to start with resource FortiOS system interface. We're going to call this. So I'm thinking we do 3 subnets. One just for public internet access, one for public internet access plus a cloud environment, a private cloud like AWS or GCP or whatever, and one for public internet, cloud, and internal infrastructure. Now, we're not going to make any policies or anything today, but we're thinking ahead, right? We're going to modularize all this so that it's kind of cookie cutter for in the event we need to expand our network, or maybe we already have a network with multiple sites we want to kind of bring in line. We want to make everything as close to the same as possible to help troubleshooting and whatnot. Modules are the way to do that. So the first one is going to be kind of a BYOD concept. Let's call it employee. Name is going to be, let's do VLAN 20. Let's do VLAN 20. Oops. VLAN 020. Employee. I don't know if that's going to be too many characters. I think there's a 15 character line. How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, we should be fine. Interface, and I don't know if we need a role. System interface, where are you? There. Algorithm L4, whatever. Distance 5 IP. So we need an IP. And for this, we're going to make 10 dot, and we're going to, let's set a variable for var dot site ID. And then dot 20 dot 1. MTU, who cares? MTU override name type. VDOM. And IPv6 description, whatever. So that should be enough for now. We're also going to make a matching DHCP scope. So FortiOS system DHCP server. We need the regular one, not the 6. We're going to call this employee. Status, we're going to enable it. What else do we need? Netmask 255.255.255.0 default gateway. It's going to be FortiOS system interface employee.ip, and we're missing interface. So the interface is going to be FortiOS system interface employee.name. Let's clean this up a little bit. There you go. So I just added the recursive tag because my terminal is just at the root. So recursive does everything beneath it. It's honestly just, in my opinion, a good habit to always add recursive just to make sure you don't miss anything and save yourself a little bit of time. And then finally, we're going to add the depends on so that Terraform doesn't try to make the DHCP scope without the interface already there. So extend my session, and then, oh, you know what? I need to actually call this. Module, let's call this sites one subnets. Source, use the module subnets, and then the red line should be site ID. And we said this is going to be site 20, or site 2. Okay, site 100. Here we go. Terraform init. Terraform plan. What do you mean it's not expected? What are you talking about? Oh. We need to actually create our variables file. So we're going to do variables.tf. And here we're going to do site ID variable. Description. Okay, I'll change this to 2. Second octet site identifier type. It's going to be a string, and then there's not going to be a default. We always need to set it. So again, that's going to be mandatory in the system interface, which is our subnet, and it's just going to set the second octet of our IP address, so that in theory, every time we instantiate a module that will have these subnets in it, we can set one variable, the site ID, and as long as it's different, we have different sites. So let's go in here, site ID 100, Terraform plan, to add, Terraform apply. Those two are the, again, subnet and dhcp scope for that subnet. Yes. What is this? Please input VLAN ID. Oh. Fair. VLAN ID 100. We said that's a string. Oh, you know what? Let's make that a number. Makes more sense to me. Subnet save. Terraform format recursive. Did that do the variables? Yes, it did. So now we're going to do, oh, hang on. This is a number, so we don't need this. Terraform apply. Yes. Why? What is your problem? Invalid IP address. What? What's invalid about it? Oh. Okay. We can't have this IP because this will include the net mask. And the net mask is specified here, which means that here, there is no net mask. So, you know what? Why don't we just copy this? Save. There we go. Apply. Yes. Perfect. All right. So we're going to refresh. Excuse me. There's our employee subnet. You can call it a VLAN, but it's not. It's a subnet. Excuse me. So notice there's no IP range, and that's because we didn't specify one. So we're going to do IP range, start IP equals this, 50, and then I think we need, do we? I don't know. Let's try with that. I know I brag about, or I don't brag, but I harp on reading documentation. And that's what I should be doing, but you know what? I don't want to waste everybody's time. Plus, it's fun to watch somebody troubleshoot, isn't it? Terraform apply. Hey, look, we got it right. So this should be starting at 50, ending at 250. Expand this. Starting at 50, ending at 250. Look at us go. So hold command and then K0 will shrink all of these, and then KJ will expand all of those. Let's make our other two, so FortiOS system interface. This one will be, call it cloud. And copy all this. Paste. Obviously, we're going to change everything. Cloud will be 50. Then just want to use the same site identifier. The VLAN would be 50. Why did I make this V20 and give it a VLAN of 100? Let's change that to 20. Doesn't make any sense. Alright. We're going to do that. And do this, because we're going to have a dhcp scope on it. V50 cloud. Site interface. Cloud. Status enable. This is going to be 50. This is going to be 50, and this is going to be 50. So that's one thing about if you're just going to copy and paste all your stuff. You just got to double check and make sure that your what do you want to call them? Features, values, I guess, are accurate. Otherwise, you'll get thrown error. I mean, I don't think you'll break things. I think FortiGate just won't let you do what you're trying to do, but it can get frustrating. And depends on FortiOS system interface. Cloud, meaning this needs to exist before this will get created. I'm going to shrink this so you only see this. Name V50 cloud interface LAN IP 50.1 root V150. Okay, so this should modify the employee interface. Should create the cloud interface and the cloud dhcp. Let's see if that's what happens. Apply. Actually, you know what? Good practice. Run a plan first. So it's going to change. Okay. It's creating VLAN ID 120. That's good. And it's making this. I don't know what this is. Should we just add an ID to it? No, that seems silly. Terraform apply. Uh-oh. Okay. You know what? We can't change the name without deleting it, so if we're going to delete it anyways, let's just delete it. So what has this done so far? We created our V50 cloud and created our dhcp scope. Perfect. So we're going to delete this. You have to get rid of all the references, and dhcp server counts as a reference. You have to delete all the references to an object before you can delete that object. So this number here has to be 0. So there it is. I'm going to delete. Now we're going to run this again. Should create it. Perfect. V20, V50. 20, 50, 250, 50, 50, 250. Okay, we're looking good. So I'm going to close all these. Now, we're going to make the last one FortiOS system interface. I'm going to call this IT because it's really only the IT people who are going to be using it, and this will make VLAN 100. And I'm already forgetting everything that we needed. You know what? Let's type it out. It's good practice to type it out until you get better. Interface LAN IP 10 dot curly brackets site ID dot 100 dot 1 and then 255.255.255.0 VDOM foot a foot VDOM VLAN IP. This will be 100. Now we need a dhcp scope. I just said we're not going to copy it. Resource FortiOS system dhcp server. This will be called IT. Status. Enable. Net mask. If I can type. Default gateway. We can't use this IP here because You have the net mask in there, and this one already has one here. It's just being a pain in the butt. So what we can do is copy this. So copy. So if you highlight everything, you use shift quotes, it'll just wrap in quotes for you. Kind of cool. Interface, this we can do so. Then you got to specify you want the name parameter, or it's just going to pull everything and it's going to yell at you. IP range. So start IP is going to be, is it still? Yeah. Just 50. The ending IP will be 250. And now, most importantly, actually, you know what? Let's leave it out. It might error, it might not, but I will show you the value of this depends on if it does error. So let's try. Interface is required, but definition. What are you talking about? Interface. Server IT. Interface is right here. Oh. AC name, that is. Okay, well, it created the interface first, but you know what? We're going to add this anyway. Because down the line, as we're reusing this module, recreating our same subnet structure across multiple sites, we just don't want to waste our time. So we're going to run another apply just to make sure everything is in line. Yes, perfect. And we refresh our firewall. We should see 3 subnets with 3 dhcp scopes. And now you can see why I called it V020, 050. I literally just wanted these guys to line up in accordance to their IPNet mask. It defaults to the name as the sorter. And instead of me having to click on the IPNet mask every time, I just did that. So I think it looks fine. So that is how it's going to be. Now, what else can we do here? Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we could keep creating subnets and DHCP scopes, but at this point, I would just be kind of making up unnecessary ones. Oh, you know what? Let's do one more. We'll call it IoT. IoT. Perfect. Expand this, and we do name. The name IoT will be 20, 50, 100. I mean, there's literally no logic to that, so let's call it 75. Interface equals LAN. IP equals right outside ID 75.1 255.255.0 vdom equals root VLAN ID equals 75. Lovely. We'll do resource for OS system. I spell it correctly. System DHCP server. IoT. There's our name. There's just a status. Set that to enable. Net mask equals 255.255.255.0. This has to be in quotes. So for anybody who doesn't know, you do command arrow to go to the start or the end of a line. We do option arrow to jump by what it considers to be one word at a time. Periods, I think dashes separate words, underscores do not. Just a little trick of the trade, you know. Default gateway. I hate taking these out. Set ID. What is this, 100? Oh, 75. 5.1. We've got our net mask already. Interface FortiOS. IoT. Name. IP range. Start IP. Let's do. Taking all that shit out again. I'm not reading that novel. So actually, yeah, here. I'll do option to the right. See it's skipping over the underscore. And IP, so I'll go to the end. I'm going to do 50 and 250. So we're going to save, and we're going to quick format recursive. Look at that, all nice and clean. And what we're also going to do is get rid of the dhcp scope on our IT subnet. You have that much power. You should know what your IT is supposed to do. And, all right, so what I just did there, I just reordered it because 75 on 400. That's not going to impact how this is laid out. What's going to impact how this is laid out is the name. So that's where that 0 comes into play, 075. It should pop it in right between cloud and IT. Let's see if that's the case. To change. What are we destroying? Oh yeah, the THP scope. What are we changing though? Stop trying to change the idea of a range. It doesn't make any sense. You know what? Okay, and now Command K0 just to close those. Come over here. Yep, extend session. Let's pop these open. Expand employee cloud IT, IoT. Lovely, and I got rid of our DHCP scope. We've got DHCP on everything else. Beautiful. I would call this a success. So to recap, we created all of these subnets inside of our subnets directory, which is inside of our modules directory, which is inside of our root directory. We called that subnets module on the main.tf file. You can call this whatever you want, but this is where it gets run. Actually, no, I don't think you can. I don't know. I'll get back to you. But in our main.tf file, we called the module. We called it Site1 subnets. The reason we called it Site1 is because down the road, and several videos from now, we're going to have Site 2 and Site 3 and Site 4. And we're going to reuse these modules, set a single variable, and watch Terraform just build our network for us. It's going to be pretty sick. But for now, we're in the foundational building phase, so that you don't really get to see the benefits of it. But yeah, you can see here, site ID 100. Second octet of all these subnets is 100. And yeah, not really sure what else we can cover before I let you go. So I might just let you go. Oh, you know what? Before I let you go, where can we should specify DNS servers, because what the hell kind of a DHCP scope or DHCP handout doesn't give you DNS servers? So we're going to do that. And we're going to make them variables. DNS server 1, we're going to call var.public DNS1, because employee is public. We're going to give it 2. You can give it up to 4. We're going to do 2. And here, we're going to copy. You know what? We're not going to copy. This is a tutorial. We're going to write it out. DNS server 1 is going to be var.private DNS1. DNS server 2 is going to be var.private DNS2. Now another, IoT should also be public. So there you go. So we're going to copy public DNS and we're going to paste it under IoT. One kind of, you could call it entry-level networking tip. If you want to guarantee that your subnets are public only, you do that with DNS servers. Even if they have policies that allow them to be internal, when a user, assuming they don't know the IP address they're trying to hit, tries to resolve something, it'll point to that public DNS server, and I mean, ideally, the public DNS server will have no idea what to do with that. And the user won't be able to get there. Now, obviously, policies, ACLs, whatever, are required. Security features, security profiles, whatever, are required. But as a good practice, your public subnet should have public DNS. Your private subnets will likely have private DNS. Yeah, keep that in mind. So first, before we move on, we're going to format this again. Recursive. Why do we format it so much? Because it looks better. Now here, create variable public DNS1 description of the public primary DNS server type. It's going to be a string. We're going to default it to Google. Public DNS2 description. Descriptions are optional. It doesn't matter, but they're helpful. Just like documentations, just like anything. The more information you have that helps people read and understand, and ultimately ultimately use your code, work on your code, and add to your code, the better. So this is going to be private DNS1. Now, obviously, you don't have private DNS, so just use your imagination. I'm going to use Cloudflare just to show that you can make different DNS servers and using variables and whatever. Just to make my point. The default is going to be also it's a description, not a default. Private DNS server variable private DNS2 description. Oh, sure. Private secondary DNS server type. It's also going to be a string. The majority of your variables are going to be strings. We can get into booleans, we can get into all kinds of crazy shit and use it for logic down the road. Truthfully, I don't love doing that. I will. I don't love it. I find it hard to read unless you're like a Terraform master, and I have to assume that if you're watching this, you are not a Terraform master. And if you are, you're in the wrong spot, because I'm not a Terraform master. I know enough to accomplish what it is I need to accomplish. But yeah, anyway, so we have our two public DNS variables, our two private DNS variables. Another benefit to using these variables, if we come back to our subnets, just shrink you and make these tiny. Excuse me. So cloud and IT are internal. IT doesn't even have a dhcp scope, so that's kind of irrelevant. But cloud, and if we were to make a second private subnet, we could assign it the same DNS servers. Anytime we need to change those, come into the variable, change the defaults, and we're all set. The public, same thing. So employee and IoT will both by default get the Google DNS servers right in here. And now that is useful because let's say you're in a situation where you have to change, 10 subnets. Maybe you have 5 sites and 2 public subnets per site. Changing 10 sets of DNS servers isn't like difficult, but it's tedious and it's prone to error. And like it's just not an ideal situation. But let's say you have like a gigantic network, right? You've got 400 sites. You've got, I don't know, 10 public subnets per site for various reasons, right? So you've got 4,000 sets of public DNS servers you got to change. Well, that's like absurd. You could go in here, assuming you've set it up as a module and all of your sites use these modules. You come in here, you change this variable one time, and that change gets pushed to all 4,000 subnet DNS servers. Like that's some pretty powerful shit. And you're guaranteed you didn't make any mistakes because everybody gets the same change. Now, obviously, if you use the wrong DNS server, then you just fucked yourself for 4,000 sites, but don't use the wrong DNS server. It's a lot easier to not make a mistake once than to not make a mistake 4,000 times. So we're going to clean this up. See, it's all open. It's all looking good. That's solid. That's solid. Yeah, I think that is a wrap for this video. Just to recap, so again, back on main, we called our module site1 subnets, source, module subnets. We have one variable, it's the site ID, the thing that's going to change across sites. Everything else will stay the same. We call that module inside modules subnets directory. Inside of that, we have the init.tf file that tells Terraform. All of this is Terraform code. We have the variables file where you specify your variables, again, the public and private DNS and the site ID. Then we have our subnets.tf file. The subnets name for that file can be whatever you want. I just called it subnets because it's in the subnets directory and it's just a bunch of subnets. I could have called it subnets in dhcp. I could have called it only dhcp. I could have called it, fuck off, leave me alone. You can call it whatever you want. And so inside the subnets, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 actual networks, subnets. We've got 3 DHCP servers attached to their respective subnets. If we look into our FortiGate firewall, we can see that that is exactly what we have here. 4 subnets, 3 DHCP scopes. Click into one of them. Oh, you know what? We should probably apply our changes. Perfect. Utterly terrible. I'm not really, I should have done it after the video. But there you go. See? Public DNS. Ooh, lease time. Lease time we should specify. Lease time 2800. That's 8 hours. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to paste that there. See, it always helps to have both side by side because you miss things that you wouldn't otherwise think of. You can save yourself some time. So this is the last change. Terraform apply. Yes. There you go. So we changed our release time. 28. Okay. Now just for good measure, we're going to go in and look at the other two. Sure, they all look good. 50-50, 52-50. Private. Look at that. Private DNS servers. Oh boy. And public, and they're all 28A, which is what we want. Sweet. So that's all for today. I hope you learned something. Next video, we're probably going to get started on VPN modules. So that will include routes, policies, IPsec tunnels. I think that's it. That's really all you need. You need a tunnel, you need a route telling it to use that tunnel, you need a policy allowing subnets to use that tunnel. So yeah, that'll be, well, at least start. That'll be in the next video, which I'm hoping will come out sometime next week. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.